Three people, right? We have voted. We elected three
Yes.
new school boards in 2016.
Yeah. There's a lot of reason for that. I think this upcoming election, hopefully, we're still give or take a year and a half out from it. Unfortunately, there were a lot of reasons that was like that. I think the old school board got away with more than they probably should have been able to get away with, and the community allowed that to happen. Right now we're getting ready to elect a new superintendent and hire a new superintendent, and they've narrowed it down to three candidates, and from my understanding, there are three extremely qualified candidates. All three of them are actually women. There's going to be some community meetings next week, I believe on the 5th. For the community to kind of come out and meet the new candidates and see, what their vision is and hear about their vision and start this new process. It's definitely going to be a healing process, though, and I think that the community actually really, the city of Apache Junction's politics in general, I think all of the elections were pretty cantankerous, because you look at the mayoral election and that was a whole nother debacle, but I think the city kind of woke up, and we're ready to take our city back. We're ready to fight for what needs to be fought for, and we're ready to, make the positive change that we want to make. And I hear it all the time. And since November, when we had the election, I've heard a lot of good things, and people are hopeful and, pushing for that change, and they're wanting to see it happen. And, they're saying, we're going to hold these people accountable to it. And hey, you know what? I can honestly say that that's the case, because I've seen more people show up to school board meetings. I've seen more people show up to city council meetings, and I go to every single one of them. So it's an interesting dynamic right now, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go and how that'll play out in the election next year.
Okay, so let's Redeem. Can you hear us? Are you on? Let me try this one again. I'm trying to get. Let's see.
What did you do to him, Scott?
I didn't do anything. Hello, Redeem, can you hear us?
Yeah, this is him.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Redeem, and he's running for this Arizona Senate in LD 30. Redeem, let's go back. What has inspired you, and why are you running for office, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Okay, so first of all, sorry about earlier. I have Sprint service. Of course, you get drop calls with Sprint.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you guys can hear me better now.
Yes, we can hear you.
So the reason why I'm running for office right now is I see a lot of our legislators are oppressing people. They are oppressing people of color. They're oppressing women. They're oppressing immigrants. They are oppressing anyone who is, I would say, not a Christian. And this is the reason why I'm running. I'm taking my fight. Have been an activist and organizer, and now I'm taking my fight from the street into the Senate. I believe you can get things done when you work from the inside.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that.
So who will you be running against?
So right now it's an open seat. I've heard some names of some people who are going to run, but as of right now, nobody.
Yeah, well,
okay, so there won't be an incumbent that will run?
No. And this is the reason why I'm taking the Senate seat, because it's open.
Yeah, LD 30, I believe, is mostly a blue district. So you're probably going to, sometime in the next 6 months or so, see names popping up, obviously.
Yes.
Now, you were at the Secular Coalition, or the Secular Day at the Capitol, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because we were there doing the broadcast, and I saw some of the interviews and stuff they did with you, and it makes me feel good, because you declare the fact that you are a Christian, yet you believe in the separation of church and state, and I think that
absolutely
a lot of people agree with that. Christians, Muslims, people like me who are humanists, people like Kara that are atheists. So we like that kind of thing when we see a candidate that's willing to say, this is what my belief is, but I'm sorry, we all should be represented equally. Now, for your district, I don't know the dynamics of your district. I know some of the people that live in your district. What kind of things do you hope that you can do for the constituents in your district?
So right now, I believe, this is just me personally, I believe that education is the doorway to almost everything, to all kind of opportunities. And one thing I hope to get accomplished, it will probably be a while before I get it accomplished, but hey, I'm going to try. I believe that all state colleges should be tuition free. Now, in our area, we have a lot of low-income families. If we dismantle barriers like tuition for our colleges, I believe that more low-income families, more low-income individuals be able to go to college and, do something. Actually want to, that low-income person could actually go and be a doctor, could be a lawyer, could be an engineer, whatever they want to be. So that's something I want to do. I want to make education more accessible.
Yeah, most people that actually kind of think about this kind of things understands that education is a very big tool and weapon in getting and becoming more than your McDonald's burger flipper or anything like that. Education is like the deal breaker when it comes to doing stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I have a problem with is, I've been I got my Bachelor of Science in 1990, and I'm still paying my student loans. It's been almost 30 years. I'm still paying student loans, which is horrible. That people that we take our young people and say you need to get better educated, and then put them so far in debt to get that education that they're in the poorhouse before they can even get a job in their field.
Right.
And that's one of the good things about working towards making education more affordable, which is a good thing to have on your platform.
Absolutely. And, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't even, especially in this community, I'll have to say that's why a lot of people don't even want to think about going to college. They're like, why would I want to go to college when I'm just going to be, I'm going to be in debt? That doesn't make sense.
So can I ask, how would you, and I know it's really hard and I don't want to throw you on the spot, but this is something to think about. You're going to be asked how you plan to pay for this tuition-free university without raising our taxes.
So the reality, add into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, and when you say tuition-free state college, are you talking about 4-year degree or community college 2-year degree?
4-year.
Okay.
4-year. I know it sounds crazy, but I believe we can do that here in Arizona.
Where's the money going to come from?
So, to be realistic, we're going to have to raise taxes.
Okay, no. Now, I'm just going to stop you right there. That will not fly. Now, I'm going to throw out a suggestion, because part of what we need a lot more that we just talking about in the last hour is we need compromise. The Republicans want school of choice. Why not have university be school of choice? You can go to a community college and you can take that test at 12 years old, at 10 years old. And if you can pass that test and you can qualify for those classes, why not have dual credits? There are school of choices, charter schools that will do this, where their students do not take AP classes that cost a bunch of money and have 7 hours of homework a night. Those students go to community college. And they could even go to university instead of high school. They still have to fulfill the requirements for high school, but they get dual credit. That is how you compromise with the Republicans. That is how you do not raise taxes. That is how you let the current funds that are going towards education stay where they are, and instead of going into your normal public K-12 school, now it's going to go pay for that university. And that student, if they are truly, driven towards college, they will go to university instead. We need to promote schools like EVIT through the West Valley Technology Center, so that by the time you are in your sophomore year, you are now deciding, are you trade school bound or college bound? We do not need these kids sitting around in high school. That is how you compromise. That's how you get it paid for without raising our taxes. You have younger people in college getting those degrees with the current funding that we have.
So I'm always
Actually,
curious, and
I actually like the idea.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One of the, I always try to play devil's advocate. So one of the things I'm curious
really?
to see kind of where your guys' thoughts would be. Hey, come on, you know me, Scott.
Yeah, I know.
Devil's advocate if you're an atheist. Oh, but
hey, I play devil's advocate because when you mention compromise, hey, you know what? Yeah, we do have to talk about legitimate, and I agree, Kara. I think we have to talk about legitimate opportunities for compromise. I don't think you're just going to be able to raise taxes and say, hey, we're going to do that because every Republican out there is going to beat you over the head, and probably about half the Democrats. I don't necessarily want to see my taxes go up anymore, but I do know that there are things that you got to pay for. So I always find it curious when people talk about making four-year college completely tuition-free, in the sense that then almost anybody can go out and get it if they want it. However, when you go back and look about 50 years ago when they made it standard and required that you go and graduate from high school, and the high school diploma was, at the time at least, a more covenant thing. If you had that high school diploma, you were considered relatively well-educated at the time, and then obviously your advanced degrees beyond that. Would you foresee that if we were to be able to somehow make college, four-year college, two-year college, completely tuition-free, would you foresee that, hey, now what was the equivalent of the high school diploma 50 years ago is now the equivalent of an associate's degree? And then, eventually it's the equivalent of the bachelor's. And at what point in time do you think that that's really going to catch up to the speed? Because most jobs or careers now do already require you, at least a good career requires you to have a bachelor's degree of some form. So the drive's already there. If you want a good degree, hey, you know what? I'm probably one of those one of the Democrats that says go out there and work for it. You want it? Go get good grades in school. Go do this. Go do that. Now, when you talk about college education, that's completely different, because I do think we need to make college more affordable. However, I don't think it's necessarily making it free. I think it's taking the business out of education and making college tuition interest-free.
Well,
I think
kind of
cool. Predatory schools as well is a thing that needs to happen.
Now, let me say that since I'm probably the only person that's been here for more than 50 years, I can agree with that, because I've seen, education for the past 50 years and how it's changed. Okay, in 1990 when I graduated, my senior year in college for my Bachelor of Science, my tuition and everything was less than like $1,700 for the entire semester.
Wow.
Okay, that was in 1990. Now here we are. My niece is in ASU and is $30,000 per semester to go to school. That is just ridiculous for somebody that's trying to educate themselves so they can better themselves, that when they graduate, they are so far into debt that they cannot afford.
And they don't even have guaranteed job
placement,
which is what I have the biggest problem with.
My idea for that is that
most
if
people
we
who
want
even have
to,
a degree, they don't even get a job.
Right. Now, I don't work in my field. I have a Bachelor of Science in Technical Theater Design, and I haven't worked in that field since 1992. But the thing is that, for example, if I wanted to go back and work on my master's, it would cost me so much money to be able to do that it's just not worth it, because I actually make more now than I would getting my master's in theater, honestly.
And that's great that you had to choose a whole nother field that provided you with that money. And somebody mentioned it earlier, like, you're right. Most people who go and get a degree aren't working in the field that they got a degree in, which presents a big problem at times, because there aren't those jobs available that they were when they started their degree. Or, hey, you know what? They've changed interest. I've changed interest about a half dozen times since I started college, and you go in and look at those things, and that's why I think really we've got to find a way to take the business out of out of education.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Now, Radim, this one's for you.
Yes.